News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A poignant Memorial Day for a Missoula naval officer. Good morning, everyone. Montana Morning for Tuesday, May 30th, 2017. A beautiful morning in western Montana. The sky's clear. We're sitting at 48 degrees right now. Our newscast this morning sponsored by First Montana Bank, your home for free centennial checking, unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card. One of our top stories this morning, the first of 36 wreath-laying ceremonies to commemorate Memorial Day of Missoula yesterday, revealed a poignant memory for local U.S. Naval Master Chief Petty Officer Terry Ziba. After tossing the ceremonial wreath into the Clark Fork River, Chief Ziba shared his reason for volunteering to take part in yesterday's ceremony.
Well, this ceremony in particular honors those that have lost their lives at sea or in the Naval or Coast Guard service or Marine Corps. And this person in particular was one of my people that we lost in Iraq. And so I'm here for Petty Officer Clark.
Ziba, overcoming his emotion, explained.
She was had completed her day's work, in fact, her day's work, and then was helping the Marines with checking civilians going through a checkpoint. And they'd finished up and they were on their way back to their barracks, and their vehicle was blown up by a suicide bomber.
Petty Officer First Class Regina Clark from Centralia, Washington, was killed in action in Fallujah on June 23, 2005, as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Petty Officer Clark served with the Naval Reserve's Naval Construction Regiment out of California. She was 43. Montana Board of Regents says raid tuition rates after state cuts in higher education spending. Friday's decisions included a 28% hike for resident freshmen and sophomores at U of M, Western, and Dillon, bringing all undergraduate tuition and fees to $5,502 next year. U of M tuition and fees will be $7,047, as we already reported, for undergraduates, reflecting an increase of between 5% and 13%. MSU Bozeman's total is the same, a 2% increase there. The Missoulian reports that in Billings, MSU students won't pay more, and tuition fees will be $5,827. Regent Bill Johnston said the system must focus on helping students afford college. There's no question that the newly elected Montana Congressman Greg Gianforte did assault Guardian newspaper reporter Ben Jacobs on Election Eve in Bozeman. The question is, was that assault a misdemeanor, as cited by Gallatin County Sheriff Brian Gutkin, or does it actually rise to the level of a felony? On Friday, Gallatin County Attorney Marty Lambert initially described the incident as a misdemeanor.
There are elements of the felony offenses that would need to be met. You would at least have to have probable cause to support those elements if you were to charge a felony. And when I get the investigative file from the sheriff's office, I will review the case, and I will then be able to make a decision as to whether or not the charge that was filed by the sheriff, whether that should be amended or changed.
Lambert said the worldwide publicity that has resulted from the incident is not lost on his office.
I found in my experience that the more celebrity and the more media and the more attention that's paid to a case, the more important it is to take a step back and just review the case objectively and look at those sorts of details that we bring to bear when we review cases, and do that in an objective fashion.
Lambert said his investigation will continue after the Memorial Day holiday weekend, and of course, what would be today. On Election Day last week, many counties experienced an interesting phenomenon. People who had already cast their absentee ballots were trying to get new ballots to vote again after a misdemeanor assault charge changed the political landscape at the last minute. Montana Secretary of State, Corey Stapleton, said there is no opportunity like that in Montana.
I think that's kind of where you got to push it back on people and say, why did you vote early? If you choose to vote before you have all of the information, then in Montana we vote only once. So you can't vote twice, or you can't change your vote. So I think the system works well, but what we've seen is that some people, by convenience, have gotten into the mode of casting their vote a month before they have all the information.
Stapleton said the public's reaction during the last 48 hours before the election is a good reminder of why he wanted to keep those polling places open.
It'll cause some people to reflect. This was obviously a conversation we had previously in the legislature, where I was very much against forcing people to vote early. for this is one of the reasons. There's many, but again, this is why teachers don't give out grades 30 days before the end of the class.
The Montana State Legislature was urged by Governor Bullock to create a mail-in only ballot system for the special election, but that proposition was blocked in the House. A state judge has ruled that Montana's school choice program can grant scholarships to students who attend faith-based schools. District Judge Heidi Albrecht ruled last week that the State Revenue Department incorrectly excluded such students from the program, which is funded by donations that can be offset by up to $150 in non-refundable tax credits. The Revenue Department said an institution controlled by any church or religious sect could not be considered, quote, a qualified education provider, end quote, under the program. The agency argued the state constitution does not allow appropriations to faith-based schools. The parents of 3 students at Stillwater Christian School challenged that rule. Albright found that the program is funded through tax credits, not appropriations, and the Constitution does not address the use of tax credits. 24-year-old Joseph Cantrell and 30-year-old Rhonda Lynn Heiner were both arrested Saturday after allegedly shoplifting at the Super Walmart and then fleeing from authorities. Sergeant Sean Findley with the Montana Highway Patrol said one of his troopers responded to a vehicle search after the alleged shoplifting incident, as did a Missoula police vehicle, according to Sergeant Colin Rose.
The people last seen leaving the area southbound on Reserve in a silver-blue minivan with temporary license plates. So Montana Highway Patrol troopers saw the vehicle, tried to make a stop on it right at about Reserve and 9th, and the vehicle failed to yield, and there was a Missoula police officer that was close by. So those 2 vehicles were in an active pursuit with it for several blocks until about the 1,000th block of Kemp.
Rose described the foot chase and the arrest of both suspects.
The female got caught pretty quick, but the male ended up shouldering his way into a temporarily unoccupied residence. So then city, county, and highway patrol troopers all gathered, contained the residence, and then entered and searched it and found the suspect male in the basement.
Cantrell was placed under arrest and charged with felony burglary, as well as misdemeanor theft and obstructing peace officer charges, while Heiner was charged with misdemeanor theft and obstruction. Heiner appeared in municipal court Sunday, while Cantrell is being held on $50,000 bail for his appearance in Justice Court later today. A 29-year-old northwestern Montana woman suspected of ordering a man's murder has been sentenced to prison for dealing drugs. Melissa Ann Crone was sentenced last week to 40 years with 20 years suspended. She earlier pleaded guilty to criminal distribution of dangerous drugs. Crone was initially charged with accountability to deliberate homicide in the May 2016 stabbing death of 35-year-old Wade Rautio. During Robert Whittall's homicide trial, witnesses testified that Crone approved of Whittall's plan to assault Rautio and let Whittall know when she was going to kick him out of her house east of Kalispell. Whittall is serving a 110-year term for taking Whittall to a rural area and killing him. Crone insisted that she had no control over what happened to Rautio after she kicked him out. Our News Talk time now, 6:13.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly sunny skies this morning. Temperatures will push their way up into the 80s as we head into the afternoon. High of around 86, a slight chance of a shower after 3 o'clock. I'm meteorologist Matt Gray for the NBC Montana Severe Weather Alert Team.